that's it. Yep, so that's our file that's modified. In Tortoise SVN, you get a notification that it's modified by the red bang on the outside. And sometimes these icons aren't always up to date, so if you want to know if this whole project is checked in, you just hit F5 and it will traverse the directories and refresh it. So now I know that this is it. I'm just going to show you that the commit's going to fail again. So Tortoise SVN installs all the utilities in the right click menu. So if I try to do the commit, hi, I'm Harry again, as if I wasn't always Harry. So here I get the same commit fails. It's my local copy is out of date. So here I can do a Tortoise SVN update, and it's going to say it's going to give me a warning that it's all conflicted. And you see all these extra files. I'm not going to go into the details of all these extra files, but that's how Subversion client manages the difference between the two files. And you see that this one has a orange bang instead of a red bang. So we can come back into here and we can do edit conflicts. Then edit conflicts, it's just a diff. The bottom view is what looks like merged. Top view is what it looks like not merged. And so theirs, why does theirs have this? Theirs shouldn't have this. I did not check that in. So basically what I want to use is I want to use this in mine and the rest of theirs. So mine is the one where I added this method. So I can either use these up here, or I can right click on this and use this text block. So if I scroll down to here, my code is now complete. That's exactly what I want it to do. I come up here and mark it as resolved. It's going to do a little magic behind the scenes. So anyways, once this is resolved, we're going to commit it. And so this is something that we've all seen. We've all done this before. But this is why conflicts happen. And how you avoid conflicts are thoroughly planning out your development plan and your resources that are going to be on which task and which task is developed when. And so if you keep your components designed so that they're disjoint, then that makes it a lot easier. You don't always have that luxury, so then you have to worry about who you're having work on what section of the code when. And then you can always resolve conflicts if conflicts do arise. Where Subversion really kills us in .NET is data sources, because you have the data access layer, the table adapters. That's one big generated file, and as I stated before, generated files don't work well. So there's a couple approaches that we've tried. One approach is have one single unified data access layer branch in your repository, and any change that needs to be made to your data layer has to be modified in that branch. That works well if we do all upfront design. If you're following a strict waterfall model where your detailed design is done before you start implementation, that works great. We don't always follow that. So another way we've tried is through our iterative design build phases that we do. For each distinct component that has to access the database, each one of those will have its own data access layer, and so that you can develop it within the branch that you're working in. That works really well in parallel development with the design being done in iterations as you go through different phases or different milestones of your project. Where that kills you is if they're accessing the same data. So that goes back to your design, how you design these disjoint components so that they work well. So there's a lot of how do we do this that's left up to you, but the more loosely coupled components you can build, the easier it is, and you're always going to have to manage your data in one branch. And so if you have multiple data layers for different components, that makes it a lot easier. You can ask Steve, because with UniFirst we had one data layer for everything. Is how we started. And since what queries are we going to run wasn't designed in the beginning, because that's not the model that we follow, we had to continually come back to Steve. And once you change it in the data branch, you have to merge it back to either the trunk or the integration branch, and then merge it out to all the other branches you come off of. And that can be a pain. And so what we ended up doing in the end was creating different, we had an authentication data layer, we had a reports data layer, and then we had the, the general what was the main one? The global data layer. And so that's a way you can organize it as well. So, all right, so this is done since I've been blabbering. And so you notice all the other files are gone, and this is now marked as red. So basically now what we have is we've told the repository that we've edited the conflicts, and I'm about to give you my A star. So this is a new version of the file which has combinations of what I had and what they had. So we commit it, merged Harry and Sally. So now we're merged, and this was within our branch. I'm going to come back over to here. This is where I had everything checked out at. You notice that this already says that I'm out of date because I've modified this file whenever I opened it by accident. But it doesn't let me know automatically that the email notification has been updated. I can refresh this all day long and it doesn't let me because I haven't synchronized with the repository. So here what I do is I just come over here to my right click menu, and I was doing this directory. We'll do SVN update. And we are now up to date with this one right here. Other tools you have in Tortoise are the repo browsers. Is a good tool. Repo browser will let you open up the repository. So my repository is actually located at repos SVN exposed. I have a subdirectory because I was going to give you several examples, but I'm only doing one now. Subdirectory called employee management. This is my employee management project root, and I have my trunk, my tags, and my branches. So now that we've made a change to our employee management email notification, I need to merge that into the trunk. So we'll go ahead and do a merge, and this is taking forever because the network's slow. Now I left out in here, I didn't add, but at the end of each of the sections where I had 2 components finishing, you should really add into your plan to do the integration. Normally about a day, depending on how big the integration is. But with size projects we do anywhere from 4 hours to a day to do the integration. Because once you do the integration, and what we're going to do right now is an integration. Merging something back into the trunk is an integration. But once you do your integration, you also have to rerun your tests. And so whatever testing tool you're using, whether it's NUnit or the Visual Studio unit testing framework or JUnit in Java, that's really where you make sure that the merge didn't break anything. Everything still compiles. And then you open up the application to see if everything's talking together. And so if you have a good test plan, you already have some specific integration tests that you need to perform as well, on top of rerunning the